A positive mindset. Welcome to video 2 of my What is a Positive Mindset mini-series. Today I'm going to be focusing specifically talking about whether we've got a victim mentality or we've got a responsible mindset, whether we're looking at being solutions focused, or are we even open to change or open to being wrong about something. Before I get into that, let me introduce myself. My name's Coach Carissa, and I'm a fear coach specializing in mental and emotional health on the brain. And I specialize particularly in the area of mindset and how to rewire our brain with better thoughts, habits, and emotions so that we can achieve the self and the life that we want. Our personality is made up of 3 parts of our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior. And the majority of people on the planet are repeating the exact same thoughts day in, day out. In fact, it's been proven by neuroscientists that about 90% of our thoughts are repeated thoughts from the past, which means that we're essentially living in the past. And if we're not changing our thoughts, then likely we're not changing our behavior, and likely our emotions aren't changing either. This is why so many of us stay stuck in a certain way of being or a certain emotional state, and why change doesn't seem so easy. In fact, many of us are blind to the fact that we might be playing a victim role in our lives. If this triggers you, pay attention to that trigger. Anytime we're triggered by something, it's because in some way, something that was said is going against an identity that we've created for ourselves. So as I go through this video series, I just want you to pay attention to how you're feeling about what's said. Is something that's said triggering you, making you angry or upset? There is a really good chance that your fear response is coming up in your mind that's saying, hey, we can't go into that concept or that thought. We can't be open to hearing about this, because if we were to acknowledge that was true, if we were to believe that this concept was true, then in some way, shape, or form, your known identity as it is now would change, which to your brain is essentially a death. And this is where the concept of an ego death comes in. Not going to get into too much of that now. I've had this in other videos where I talk about the ego and what is an ego death and all that sort of thing. So you could take a look at my YouTube channel if you're interested in that. And if you are liking what you're hearing so far, guys, give me a thumbs up, like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have content coming out every single week. And the more you like it, the more you subscribe, the more that I can keep doing and sharing these videos. So let's talk about the difference between somebody who's in a victim mindset versus somebody who's in a responsible mindset, taking responsibility for the things that come up in their lives. Now, this concept triggers people a lot. This concept of I am responsible for everything in my life up until this point. Whew. I can guarantee there's a few of you out there already feeling triggered when I say this. Now, a lot of people often come back to me and they say, well, what about the case of rape victims? What about the case of somebody who is severely injured, or somebody who lost a child, or a death in the family? Are they responsible for those things? Are they responsible for child abuse? And the long and short of it is no. In no way, shape, or form are we responsible for the things that happen to us in childhood, or maybe where in the case of rape, for example, where we've been overpowered. That's not what being responsible for everything in your life is about. It's about taking responsibility for where we are now and our ability to change our future. So let's take a look at a person who is a rape victim, who constantly feels victimized by maybe members of the opposite sex who did the raping, for example. Maybe it was a woman who was raped by a man. We'll use that example. Will now react negatively to men in any situations. And granted, this is understandable. There's a lot of trauma that went in there that needs to be healed. So work with me as I go into this. Let's take this example of a rape victim. This rape victim is often living in the past. Maybe she's affected in relationships with men now. Maybe she has a hard time trusting men. Maybe she flinches even when somebody comes near her. Maybe her self-talk is, I can't trust men. Or maybe she tells other people, hey, I've been raped and so I can't trust men. So the reality is that maybe in the past a person didn't have control at the time, or they weren't responsible for the actual event. But we are responsible for where we are now and choosing whether or not to stay a victim. It's our choice whether or not we're going to change our thought patterns and change our behaviors to heal from that event and take responsibility for our lives and take responsibility for our mindsets and take responsibilities for our emotional states. This is where responsibility lies. We are responsible for everything in our life as it is now. We might not have been responsible for our parents abusing us in the past, and as a result, maybe we struggle with alcohol, maybe we struggle with addiction issues, or maybe we have troubles in relationships, maybe our parents weren't good with money. And at the time, as a child, we might not have had the choice then, but we have a choice now. And anytime we blame our past for the way we are now, that's staying in a victim mindset or a victim state. And when we start to take responsibility for the fact that we're older, wiser, we know more now, when we start to take responsibility for where we are now and choose to do what we have to do to change those emotional states so our past is no longer affecting us, which is completely possible, then we're taking responsibility for our life. We're taking responsibility for our choice to either stay stuck in the past or taking responsibility for our choice to move forward in our life and choose something different for ourselves. If we're a victim mindset would be, I don't know what I need. I feel horrible. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. It's blaming a circumstance as opposed to trying to find help, as opposed to saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get myself out of this state. This is probably first and foremost in positive thinking. I cannot stress to you how crucial this one mindset is, and it will either keep you stuck or it will move you forward. If you choose to acknowledge that you're responsible for what is going on in your life now and how you are feeling, and you are responsible for doing what's necessary to be the person you want to be. Otherwise, you're choosing to be exactly where you are now. There are people out there like myself who help. So what I do is I'm an NLP matrix therapy coach. And I help access all of these trauma states and emotions so that we can clear those events and rewire your brain with better thoughts, habits, and emotions. Take responsibility for your life. If this is something you currently struggle with and you're ready to get out of it, contact me. Go to www.coachcarissa.com or DM me. I do sample sessions. You can take a look at the things I do, try it out, get a feel for it yourself, how it benefits your life, releasing this stuff and taking responsibility for your life. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Mindset Matters. Stay tuned for our next episode where we're going to be talking about a fixed mindset, or we're going to be talking about a solutions-focused mindset. Stay tuned for that. Remember, mindset matters.